So it's Saturday, the boys have both finished school for the Easter half term and we've got a plan to get out and about on the road. However, we're not sure where we want to go yet. We're debating that purely on the basis of the fuel crisis that we've got going on at the moment, which isn't ideal. Prices are through the roof no matter where you go. So yeah, we're thinking that we want to get out and about definitely. Do we drive a bit further afield and possibly link up some of the previous trips we've done, i.e. starting where we finished and finishing when we started, that sort of thing. In the meantime, I've got a few jobs to do on the van. There's a bit of an issue with the reverse camera that I've got fitted in the third light. That needs sorting. It's not connecting when I hit reverse, but it is connecting when I push the button on the head unit itself. So I know the camera's working. I've popped off the rear reverse light to make sure the connection there is okay, but it did look like there's some corrosion on the wire, so I need to replace that and refit that. Got a few bits of cleaning to do in the van as well, which needs a bit of a TLC touch up. And then we're gonna see if we can get on the road tomorrow.
So we're just setting off on our next trip, which is our first trip of the year. We're feeling really excited, a little bit unsure on the weather because it is only April and it might be only 12 and it might be raining. But we've packed our wellies, we've packed our walking boots, we've packed our raincoats, and let's see where it brings.
So here we go. Now if you remember, our first ever Coast in the Kingdom episode saw us start here in Appledore and go all the way around the southwest coast around Cornwall and finishing up in Polperro. And on our last Coast in the Kingdom episode, we started in Brighton and we headed west, finishing ourselves up in Lymington. So now, there's a golden opportunity here for us to start in Polperro, head east, include the Isle of Wight and finish up again in Lymington. And that covers a huge section of the south coast. But we've only got 7 days, and that's a lot of road to cover. So fuel crisis aside, we had to fill up. This wasn't going to be pretty, and bearing in mind, my tank was just over half full anyway. So with a tank full of liquid gold, we punched on down the motorway, cracking on with as many miles as we could, until we needed a break.
Tomorrow.
The festival?
Yeah.
What festival?
A festival.
Festival?
Yeah.
What's a festival?
It's a big park, but it hasn't got park rides. It's all different rides on it.
And what festival do you want to go to? I think somewhere down the line, Harley got a bit confused. Either that, or he was too busy daydreaming about the escalators. What do you want to do?
Go down the escalators.
Do you?
Oh, you okay?
Well, it's nice to know that the Sausage and Cider Festival still has an impact on Harley. But if I'd known all he wanted was a ride down the escalator, this trip could have saved me a fortune. But now it's time to stock up on necessities.
Can you buy them?
What are they?
Raisin bar chocolate. Raisin bar chocolate.
How badly do you want them?
All the way to the moon 1,010,000,000 times.
Is that it?
110 billion and 1,000 times. And 100,010,000.
Go on,
100 times.
You can have them.
Want any chocolate from here?
No, thank you.
Just see these.
I did see them, yeah.
I love this.
Do you?
Do you want them?
Now I've got a small inkling that as Harley grows up, he might get himself a job in sales. After the goods had been acquired, it was time to head back to the van, but the boys wanted to show off their new magic trick they learned.
Oh,
Good job, boys. All ready for bed. Because the night is creeping in quick and the miles are getting longer. And a good 4.5 hours into the drive, we finally saw the Polperro car park sign.
So we've just arrived in Polperro. It's 1:20 in the morning. We thought both boys were asleep in the back, but it sounds like there's some noise. Let's deal with that first. We made it to Polperro car park, and the realised the prices to park was going to be about £15 just for the night. There's no toilets, no services. So we looked on Park for Night and found a little lay-by just 4 minutes away around the corner that was free. So we've driven round here with the kids. Both woke up on the drive, so we've just settled them back off to sleep. We've not bothered putting the pop top up tonight. They're at the bottom of the bed. We're in the bed. And we're going to see how tonight goes and head back into Polperro in the morning. So we've just woken up and just setting off back round to Polperro. So we had a little look on Park for Night, found the perfect little lay-by that was just around the corner, 4-minute drive away, and decided to park there. Said lay-by. It was a really quiet little spot. Couldn't have asked for anything more, nice and flat. I think there were some tractors and things coming past earlier this morning, but not that woke me. Kids have had a nice lie-in, got up about 9 o'clock, 10:15, just headed into town, have a mooch around Polperro, and then see what else the day brings.
Now, Polperro's a proper old school Cornish fishing village. Tight streets, whitewashed cottages, and absolutely no room for modern life to squeeze in. So after abandoning the car park last night, we headed back there in the morning to park up for the day so we could walk into town. And just a note, that this car park is cash only, and there are these little huts that you can get change from if you need it. Now if you visit Polperro, I'd highly recommend you use this car park and walk in, because cars are basically banned from the centre. And after a long drive last night and heading straight to bed, this little stroll was exactly what we needed. And it kick-started Harley into getting the camera out and starting filming for the 11 project himself. I'm so proud.
Dad, I'm filming this.
Yeah?
What have you been doing?
I took a picture of a bird.
Of a bird? Wow.
Now it's the old, narrow, tight and bendy streets in Cornwall that make me absolutely love visiting, and Polperro's no exception. And as soon as the boys found their first gift shop, I think they fell in love too.
Please, can we get this?
No, could you please leave everything alone?
I just
We're
found
not
it.
touching things, put it back.
I want me to put it back where it belongs. I think it's back where it belongs, but I don't know. This is shiny. I'll go buy this for Nanny Pat because it's got Nanny Pat.
Oh yeah, Nanny Pat would love that. From a working fishing village to one of Cornwall's most photographed spots, Polperro's done a pretty good job of holding on to what made it so special. And even now, it feels like a bit of a step back in time, just with slightly more ice cream shops. So after a few stops in the shops on the way and taking a few diverted paths, we eventually got our first proper look at the harbour. Big jagged rocks closed in around the bay, cottages sitting high up on the hillside, and the sea just opened up in front of you. Bit in Harley's eyes, there's no time to wait around and have a look. He's found the ultimate photo shoot spot. Honestly, is there nowhere this boy won't climb?
Stop me from falling.
I can't do miracles.
Let's go.
Photo shoot aside, it was time to head into this little cave. Harley was feeling brave and wanted to go right in, Laker following close behind. So I gave Harley the camera and let him lead the way to document what he could see.
I could just see nothing apart from rocks, and then we went exploring the cave. That's all I want to say. It's dark in here.
It's dark. Now I know we're only into our first morning of this trip, and the Coast in the Kingdom series for us brings a few things with it, guaranteed. Throwing rocks in the sea, cheeky smiles, and reminded us how lucky we are to be a family travelling around the coast of the UK. And it's moments like this when I see our two boys getting along together, having fun and smiling, it's just unbelievable. And then all of a sudden, a completely harmless wild animal comes into play.
I'm too scared to come past. It's going to eat me.
What? Nah, go in.
You're going to eat me? Oh, mate, you're...
She'll have a look, got something to eat somewhere. You're going down that way.
You need to go so I can run. You go down to Delhi.
Dad, Mummy is good. So you can like you do that. And then turn this off.
Mummy must think she's a chip.
You find this really funny?
Yeah. Stroke it.
I know there's some food I think in the kitchen that he's looking at. So
No, you are the food.
He thinks I'm going for it.
Give him a stroke.
Come on, Mum, you can do it. Do it, Mummy.
A fine display of bravery and confidence. Well done, babe. So we wander back around the shore, checking out the rock pools, seeing if we could find any fish in there.
Poke it, poke it, poke it, poke it.
Now I don't recommend doing this with an expensive camera in your hand, but sometimes needs must.
Can we see any fish?
Yes.
And after watching Dad have a go, of course Harley had to have a go himself too. So I think we're finishing up in Polperro now. We've just been down to the beach, had a little wander around the little shops in the streets, and I think we're heading off to Looe, where I'm gunning for a pasty. There's no way I'm coming to Cornwall, I'm not grabbing myself a pasty. So that's the first port of call. From the quiet charm of Polperro to something a little bit more lively. Welcome to Looe. Like I said, first stop, pasties. Talk nicely to me, is this the one?
I'm thinking so. I'm hoping so.
And the pasty shop of choice today was Sarah's Pasties. And they did not disappoint.
Sausage roll.
There's something about Looe. It doesn't try to be overly pretty or polished. It's just a bit busy, a bit messy, and full of life, and a complete contrast of where we've just been. This is less hidden fishing village, more proper British seaside in full swing. And with crystal clear waters like this, it's hard to stay away from it, and it makes it the perfect spot for a bit of crabbing. We didn't fancy it ourselves today, but we passed plenty of people that were, and were quite happy to show the boys what they'd caught. But it was a quick trip down to the beach, but we knew we weren't going to be here long, so it was something else that caught the boys' eyes on the way down. That's right, the arcades. Of course. Now I know I said earlier that Harley's probably going to get himself a sales role when he's older, but I think I might have changed my mind. He's probably going into dramatics. Or probably one of those actors that plays the same role over and over again. But it's not just Harley having a good time. Claire loves a 2p machine too, so it's fun for the family all round. and after a while we had some success. But I couldn't tell you how many of these key rings we've got. But whatever makes them happy. So if you've been following along the series, you'll know that we don't really plan our routes or stopovers too well. Sometimes we get an inkling of where we might want to stay, or they might have a campsite in mind, but other than that, it's just fair game. On this occasion, I did get a bit of an idea of where we were going to be roughly, just to make sure we could cover the amount of ground we needed to in 7 days. And I thought about staying in Rame this evening, but after we finished Looe, we headed straight there. And as soon as we pulled into the car park, we could see St Michael's Chapel sitting on top of the hill. And we arrived at a really awkward time. It was too early to set up camp in the car park and stay there the night, but it was early enough that we could wander on down and take a closer look at the chapel. So it was hats on, gloves on, coats on, because it was windy, but it was a lovely evening for a walk down. And I've got to admit, it looked a lot further away from the car park than what it actually was. We climbed down the big hill, up the big hill, and we eventually got to the chapel at the top. And another thing that the Coast in the Kingdom series brings us, incredible views. Everywhere we've been so far, it's just been out of this world. And it always gives us a reason to explore a little bit more and say yes to the things you might not normally have. And you end up seeing things like this, seals, just chilling in the water, head bobbing up and down. But it was time for us to head back to the van. And it wasn't quite a normal walk. Again, Harley, playing with his dramatic style, decided to do the worm pretty much all the way back up the hill. We eventually got to the lighthouse point, somewhere we had passed on the way down. And Claire wanted to check it out, because she saw this charity bookstore, and she struck gold as she bought herself a new book for the trip. But it was full steam ahead, because our overnight plans had changed, and our next stop, we think was going to come with some issues. We needed to get a ferry to where we was going next to find a parking spot, because where we were now, we didn't have anywhere lined up. It didn't look promising for a stay overnight there. So with a possible ferry cancellation, we pushed on to see where we could get, if we could get. We flew through the ferry road, and would you believe it, there was one waiting for us right there. We drove on, and they lifted the ramp up right behind us. Talk about timing. So the original plan was to stay at Ramehead car park this evening. We decided not to stay there just because it was quite windy, and we wanted to put the pop top up tonight. Equally, we got there quite early, so we are pushing on a little bit more now. We've come up to Tor Point, where we're getting a ferry at the moment. If you can see that, it's a bit underwhelming, I get that. So where are we even getting to from Tor Point?
Plymouth.
Going to Plymouth. Claire's found a park for night spot on there, which looks good. It's right next to the water, apparently. Is it free? Mm-hmm. It's free.
I was on a budget.
Yeah, we've not paid for anything yet. So yeah, we'll see what that's like. We're going to get some food on. I think we're all a bit hungry now. And we'll see what happens at this park for night spot. So after our thrilling ferry journey into Plymouth, we'd finally made it. And it was just a short drive from the dock to where we was parking for the night. And this was an absolute touch. There's nothing I love more than waking up in the morning right next to the water's edge, and this was going to give us exactly that. We didn't have to worry about safety tonight, because we had this fella and his sword overlooking the water. So we got ourselves cosy. We've popped up one up for the first time this trip, we got some dinner on, the boys were playing games up top and entertaining themselves, and Claire enjoyed a bit of peace and quiet, getting stuck into her book. So I had a nice relaxing evening ahead of me, or so I thought.
just going to the park. I'm going on holiday. We're going on holiday. One way. Alright. Dad, I know I'm walking a bit slow. Because of Mummy's. Mummy's shoes. I'm Mummy's night video.
Right, what are we doing, boys? We
We
was tucked up in the van, nice and warm. It's 9 o'clock at night. What are we doing out here?
We are racing our cars on the park slide.
We're racing the cars on the park slide, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I should have known better. That was never going to be the plan. Especially when we parked 20 yards away from a park. But with Harley wearing his mum's shoes, it was time to buckle up and get our engines ready. Because it was Mario Kart time.
This is not. Then go yeah.
So. Go. It might have been a late night and a spontaneous trip to the park, but that makes our kids happy. And when my kids are happy, I'm happy.
Mine won, but Daddy cheated.
Oh, you're one. Yours one.
Yeah, Daddy cheated.
Oh, Daddy.
I didn't cheat. They eventually agreed to bedtime, but on the basis they slept downstairs again. So a sleepy start to the day today.
Morning, Lakes.
And whilst we didn't rush to get up and ready, we did head straight back on the road as soon as we were done. Although we'd done loads already, we still had a long way to go, so we headed further into Plymouth city centre because there was a lighthouse that Claire wanted to take a trip up to. Now I didn't know what to expect from Plymouth, but this wasn't what I expected. It was very pleasant, which was a nice touch.
That one there.
Go on then.
Can I go?
Yeah.
But shortly, we arrived at Plymouth Hoe, with the lighthouse in the background. Claire had looked up online that you could do tours up to the top. But unfortunately, as we got there, we noticed a big cherry picker doing some work on the outside of it. And being early in the morning, we knew we was chancing our luck anyway. But we did walk up to the door, and we were greeted by the maintenance men, and they confirmed what we kind of already knew. There was no admission today, but from what we could gather, Plymouth wasn't quite ready for the summer opening yet. Everything seemed to be shut, so we took a quick droney and we decided to get on to the next point. Because time is of the essence, only on day 3. So it was lunch on the move for us, and it's not abnormal, we quite often do this. And as we were driving, Claire was scrolling through her phone to see what it was about, and she'd seen this surfing cow ice cream, and with a stunning review like this, there was no way we was going to pass up on this opportunity. Time for dessert. Now whilst it was kind of on the way to where we was going, we did detour about 20 minutes out the way. And you know when something's too good to be true? Yeah, we saw this. And normally, I would have just said let's turn around and go back. But I felt lucky, so we carried on down the track, down to the shop itself, and we tried our luck. And whilst me and the boys waited in the van eagerly, we found success. Sometimes, it's well worth pushing your luck. So whilst the shop wasn't open to dine in, they did have some frozen ice cream tubs in the shop that they could sell to us. So Claire picked a caramel fudge and a Devon dairy. And given we couldn't eat them on premises, we decided to drive back past the cows that made the ice cream. So we had a quick search on Apple Maps, and luckily for us, there was a spot just down the road which led to this car park. It was a short walk down a fairly steep hill, and we'd hit the beach. The perfect place to crack open a tub of ice cream, if you ask me. So So Harley set off with exploring the beach, and whilst he was looking for shells, me and Claire cracked open the tub of caramel fudge, and we could not believe how good this looked. Lashings of caramel sauce, huge chunks of fudge, just sitting on top. Harley soon came running back.
No.
Yeah.
And at this rate, the boys were powering through it. I was worried that me and Claire weren't going to get our fair share, but we made sure we did. Just.
Well, that woman's recommendation was on point. Wait, I think you're going to have to leave that one on the beach.
What have you found?
Oh no.
That is
Whoa, don't take your rubber's head off.
there's a car.
No, no.
Harley, look, that dog wants it. After having to leave his precious log behind, it was time to move on. We were heading towards Bigbury on Sea. And that island you can see in the background? That's Burgh Island. And getting there isn't quite as simple as it looks. Depending on the tide, you either walk across or you don't. So timing this right suddenly feels quite important. And not knowing a huge amount about Burgh Island, we rocked up in the car park, grabbed our buckets and spades, and we headed down the steps towards the beach. Simple so far. And judging by the look of it, the sea was so far out, it looked like we've got hours to kill before we had to worry about getting back. I've mentioned this before, I'm not a massive fan of the beach, which seems crazy considering we're coasting the kingdom and there's going to be a few beaches. But actually, by the time we got to this point, I was already in love with this island. Harley was digging, Laker got stuck into a game of football by himself, and I'd spotted this incredible little pub right on the edge of the island. Now Claire had volunteered to get the first round in, which obviously came on the basis that I got the cheesy chips later, which was fair enough. But when I saw the videos of this little pub, I knew this was right up my street. Old school, quirky, cosy, and beer on tap. This is a bit of me. So I hung back with the kids, refereeing a game of football with Laker on his own, and still managed to get a handball. Harley on an expedition to who knows where, and Claire came back with the goods. What, lad? What you got?
I got beer.
Okay.
So if we go to the bottom of the sand?
Yeah, go as deep as you can, mate.
You can say hello to Auntie Jamie. Where does she live? If you keep digging to the bottom of the sand, you get to Australia. I was halfway through my first pint. I started to think, are my eyes playing tricks with me? Or was this beer really strong? Because the water was definitely creeping in. But surely not that quick. And before I knew it, the tides were touching. I wasn't sure to feel nervous or excited that we was going to get stranded on this island with an incredible pub. I hadn't even ordered the cheesy chips yet. Oh well, back to the pub. And there's no prize for guessing how the boys felt. They weren't nervous at all. They got stuck right in. Down to their swim shorts and straight into the water. I wasn't going to stop their fun and rush back to mainland. No chance. I did go back into the bar and order the cheesy chips, and I inquired about how we get home. And much to my dismay, they told us not to worry, because for £2 each, we can get a ride on this bit of machinery right here, the sea tractor. Now the sea tractor, that will take us back to mainland. It crosses every hour, 15 minutes after the tide meets in the middle. And I knew the kids were going to love this. So we ate our cheesy chips, and we got on the first crossing of the sea tractor. We were almost first in the queue. We handed over our tickets and we climbed aboard, and we went straight to the front of the sea tractor. the sea monster truck?
There's a guitar.
What we didn't realise is what looks like the front of the sea tractor is actually the back. When they roll off from the shore, they do a 3-point turn and we ended up going backwards. Which wasn't a bad thing, so I got to look at that incredible pub one last time. And from here, you might be thinking, the water doesn't look that deep. But at one point, those huge wheels were completely submerged. It didn't take long. It was only a 5 or 10 minute journey, and we was back to the mainland. And so far, this has been a massive highlight for me. What an incredible trip, and I'm definitely coming back here. And although we didn't spend a huge amount of time here, it was quite sad for it to be the end. But I've learnt this with the Coast and the Kingdom stuff. We do some incredible things, but given how much we cover, we need to get on. And right now, it was time to think about dinner, showers and bed.
Back to the van, sure.
And in terms of showers, we'd found this campsite 3 minutes away from where we'd parked for Burgh Island, and you can see it here in the background. As we pulled up to Mount Folly Farm, the space was huge. There was no set out bays and we got told we could park wherever we wanted. So we parked up at the top of the hill. We set up our van, got the bare minimum ready, and we headed straight back down for the showers.
What are you doing up there?
And that glorious sunshine soon faded and the sun began to set. The weather was still nice and warm and the kids had bundles of energy. And with this amount of space outside the van, it was only natural for the boys to grab a football and have a good kickabout, right up until bedtime. We'd promised the kids a movie evening, so Claire had set Netflix up on the iPad, fitted it into the tablet mount, and we all got tucked up in bed and enjoyed a nice movie for the evening. So a short but sweet stay here at Mount Folly Farm. So we got up nice and early, got ourselves ready, and we were off once again. We wasn't leaving without popping into this little store just at the entrance of Mount Folly Farm. Turns out they have these super cool vending machines, but this isn't just a normal vending machine. Here you can get fresh milkshakes made at the farm with a huge amount of flavours. So there's no way we weren't giving it a go. In the first vending machine, you pick your bottle size, and we went for a small one. You scan your card, you pay for the bottle, and then you take that over to the dispensing machine, where you get to choose through the menu out of all the different flavours they've got on offer. I opted for the honeycomb milkshake. Once you've chosen your flavour, you disperse it out the tap. I feel like this is way too much responsibility. I'm only here to use a vending machine, and now I feel like I'm milking an actual cow, just with a big metal udder. This is a real naughty breakfast, but a great way to start the day.
So this morning we woke up in Bigbury on Sea. We've tried to get a bit of an earlier start out on the road, so it was a quick breakfast in the van for the kids. They are loving life, still in their pyjamas in the back of the van. And we're heading further along the coast. Ross is quite keen to make it to the start of the Jurassic Coast today, but it all depends on how many things we stop off to see en route. So we'll see how far we get today.
And we got all of about 2 minutes down the road before we saw this, Hope Cove. As we drove down the hill and round the bend, we saw the sea open up to us on the right hand side. And as we saw that, we saw a parking spot on the left hand side. so it made sense we stopped. Now the weather wasn't great this morning. That doesn't normally stop us. We got wrapped up nice and warm and we headed down to the beach, which turned out to be a little harder to navigate than we normally find.
That's it. 2 feet on that one. That's it. Stretch your arm to me. Other arm. Would you want me to pull you over, or are you doing it?
I need to get this out so I can record it. Wait. Oh, wait.
1, 2, 3.
And with me not being a massive lover of sand, I was desperate not to get wet and sandy this morning. But clearly Harley didn't pick that gene up from me. It didn't take him long to flick his shoes off, roll his trouser legs up and get stuck right in. Although the sea was a bit cold for him. So he set himself off on a hunt, looking for rocks and shells.
Got some more shells. Show me.
This is my room. I've got a lot of rocks.
So many rocks.
I mean, not rocks. Seashells.
We'd found another cave, and the boys wanted to go exploring in that one too. So as we was climbing up, Laker noticed something weird stuck on the side of the rock.
What's that?
Red thing. I don't know, I was thinking the same thing, but I'm not brave enough to touch it.
And of course, this piqued Harley's interest. He had to come and have a look too.
What is it? What is it you're talking about?
Oh, there's another one, look, down there. Like a browny, reddy blob.
And none of us knew what this is, so a quick Google search revealed that this is called a beadlet anemone. And then one of them things. But if we weren't in a rush already, this additional stop did not help timings. So now it's time for a dramatic drive. I wasn't joking when I said dramatic. But now we're here, Start Point Lighthouse. We parked up in the car park, spoke to a few volunteers who suggested we take the coastal route, because there might be a little surprise as we walk round. Now what was supposed to be a 30-minute walk straight down to the lighthouse and back has now ended up being a proper coastal route, which we're all for. It's just one clear marked out path that we follow, and it loops us all the way back round to the lighthouse and back to the car park. We wasn't sure the boys would be up for a long walk, but with a few well-planned breaks and stops, I'm sure we can keep them entertained. Now something we always forget to do on these walks is bring the binoculars, but this time we'd remembered, so we had a great chance to look at some wildlife here. And so far the walk was nice and easy, so we carried on, until it got a little bit rocky and unstable.
Right, I've got the camera rolling. I'll just miss you fall over like that. Oh, I'm not a very good cameraman, am I?
Yeah.
You just literally stood still and fell on your bum. What happened?
Shit.
Oh, what? You were standing still?
No, that's all.
So yeah, we cautiously edged on. And shortly after this, we walked round the corner and saw a big group of rocks in the sea, which piqued Claire's interest. Time for the binoculars. And this is what the volunteers in the car park had recommended to us. Out on these rocks, you can often see seals. And would you believe it? They were right there waiting for us. we spent ages here. I'd say at least 45 minutes. But it was hard to leave. Every time you look away from one seal, you'd find another one, and not necessarily on the rocks. We found quite a few swimming in the waters around them too.
Our seal is outside of along the rock.
What do you think he's doing out on the rock?
Sleep.
He's sleeping. What's he sleeping for? It's the daytime. You must have been doing the daytime today, wasn't you?
We eventually decided to move on, and the walk got a little bit more precarious. But this is nothing compared to the walk we did up to the Wailing Widow's waterfall in the NC500 episode. And as we creeped along the rocky path, we saw the lighthouse in the distance, so we knew we was going the right way. Not that I think you could get lost in this path. And even as we was walking and got a little bit higher, turns out we had a better view of the swimming seals. So again, we stopped for a little bit longer. When we went for our first trip on the coast in the kingdom, back in Cornwall, it was Claire's mission to find seals, and I think she thought we was only ever going to see them in Cornwall. But so far, we've seen them in Cornwall, Scotland, and now on the Jurassic Coast, and she's over the moon about it. But it's time to focus on the walk, because time was running out. But as much as Claire loves the seals, turns out the boys have an even bigger interest in beetles, so we had to stop there too.
Your choice, mate. You do want to see the lighthouse? Alright, let's come down this path then.
Why don't it be you, Mummy, me and Daddy?
Daddy might want to see the lighthouse with us.
I don't.
And after finally convincing Harley to come to the lighthouse, we trekked down the long path and found this.
What?
Harley, you can read that sign out of Daddy's face. The big word at the bottom, what does it say? The sign at the bottom.
Closed.
What does it say?
Closed.
What do you mean closed?
We came all the way to the lighthouse. This is the second lighthouse we've been to, and they're both closed.
So yeah, our lighthouse luck hasn't been great this trip. But it's been a nice walk, and at least the path back up was smooth and tarmac, so it was an easy walk back up. And I've learned a little bit about myself. Turns out I'll pick out the weirdest little details.
Didn't expect to see that out here.
If you know, you know.
So we're just leaving Start Point Lighthouse. We got there probably about 1 o'clock, 1:30. Thought it would just be a quick little tour around the lighthouse and we'd be on our way again. But when we got talking to the people in the car park, they were telling us that if we did the walk around by the coastal path, there was a load of rocks where you could see a load of seals bathing on or basking in the sun. So we couldn't resist, went for a walk, should have been there about half an hour, actually spent just over 2 hours there, and by the time we got back to the lighthouse, unfortunately, it was another lighthouse that had closed just before we got there. So still haven't been up a lighthouse, but the kids had a great time watching the seals swimming around in the water anyway. So now we're heading along to Slapton Sands to see what's there. Not sure how much we're going to fit in this evening. Ross would like to be in Teignmouth. I think that's very optimistic for where we're at, but let's see.
So we'd got chatting to a family when we was on Burgh Island, and they'd highly recommended Blackpool Sands. We thought we'd swing in and have a look. And this was a nice touch to see.
Help create a litter-free coast. Take a bag and pick up litter, snap it and tag it and share it, recycle what you can and bin it. Would you like to help clean the beach?
Yeah.
There's little things like this that I love teaching our kids. There's absolutely no harm in grabbing a litter picker, a bin bag, and helping clean up the coast. And since seeing this on the beach, we've now got 2 litter pickers and a roll of black sacks in the van too. And luckily, the boys really enjoy doing it, so we turn it into a game. It's not about who can pick up the biggest bit of litter, it's about who can make the biggest difference. If we leave where we arrive nice and clean, then we've won. And it doesn't matter how big or small it is what we pick up, as long as it gets disposed of properly. But thankfully, there wasn't much litter on this beach, so it didn't take long before we could clean up what we saw, and we got stuck into playing on the beach. And there's some more important lessons to be taught as well, like skimming rocks for example.
You've got to flick it so it spins. It's got to land on the water on its flat side. So you've got to spin it like that. Frisbee. See? Close.
Now I know the boys love chucking rocks in the sea, but if I can teach them to skim it, I'd imagine they'll have hours more fun. I was proud of that one. And by no means am I a pro at this, and the skimming was going great, until it wasn't.
I did hear the plop.
And after being so close to being swept out to sea, it was time to wrap up the evening. The sun was going down, and the tide, well, that was obviously coming in.
The slip is sliding. Oh my golly, that path is too far away.
So we carried on with our journey, and the next port of call was Dartmouth. We wasn't planning on being here too long. We was just going to grab some dinner, jump on the ferry, and cross the water, and then look for somewhere to sleep. But when we'd got to Dartmouth, our thoughts had changed completely. This little marina town was stunning. I parked up the van opposite the water, overlooking the marina and the houses on the hill, and Claire went to get some fish and chips for us to enjoy in the van. Now it comes without saying, if you're near water and a fish and chip shop, you're bound to have an audience. But unfortunately, where we'd parked, there was this sign. Typical. But luckily, just behind us, the other side of the little marina, we were allowed to stay overnight. So I drove the van round and abducted my own child. Not sure why he wanted to climb through the window, but it made him happy. We'd only been in Dartmouth for a matter of hours, but already, me and Claire were both in love with this place. There was just something about it, so we had to explore a little bit more, even though the sun was going down. So we took a little walk around the garden we'd parked next to, and we'd seen that there were public toilets and showers there, so we thought we'd scope it out, ready for the morning. But the boys had other ideas. They saw this little pavilion thing, and they had to turn it into a wrestling ring.
Once a week we have to come and watch. Yeah.
Where's your money on? So it seems like the boys are big fans of Dartmouth too, which is great because I definitely want to come back. And we eventually found the toilets, just a mere 2-minute walk away from the van. I mean, 2 minutes if you're not standing around wrestling. But we weren't done exploring, so we headed back round the marina, seeing it lit up at night, and this was something special. But as they say, all roads lead to the pub, or something like that. We decided to head into the Royal Castle, which is right behind where we parked. Now we might not have had much luck with lighthouses this trip, but our luck with pubs, that was going great. So we all got a drink and sat around the pub table talking about our day. So Leica, what was your favourite thing today?
The dolphins.
You saw dolphins. Where were they?
In the water.
Were they? No way. How many did you see?
One sleeping on the rock.
You saw one sleeping on the rock.
Yeah.
Oh.
Then water, he took his head off.
He got in the water and then he popped his head up.
Yeah.
What was your favourite bit today, Harley?
My favourite bit was when I get to hold the camera and then I said about me one of them was for me to take a lot more bigger pictures than normal.
What about you, Mummy? What was your favourite bit of the day?
What my favourite bit of the day was definitely seeing the seals. Every time I glance down, I see another one and I get excited again. Daddy, what was your favourite thing today?
And after a nice bit of reminiscing, we decided to head up and use the toilets before we got back to the van. And as we started walking up the stairs, this pub just turned into something even more crazy. Twisting staircases, low ceilings, secret rooms. This is the kind of place where every corner feels like it's got a story to tell. It's those little details that make places feel proper unique. And then there's this, a little window in the floor looking straight down into the bar below. But now it was time for bed. We'd done loads today and it was time we got our rest in. And whilst this isn't an official pub stopover, we parked right outside, so the walk back to the van didn't take any time at all. But Harley had a little more to say.
I went to a beach and I found this walk and shower in, and it's one of the thick ones and I like it so much. And I went on to another beach and there was a river and I was holding and then sand came and then I put my feet on and then I fell in the water with lots of times, and then the second was hilarious.
Can you tell we just walked out of a pub? And with story time over, the boys love to have a ride on the pull-out bed that we have in the van.
Go!
So after a nice, peaceful, relaxing sleep in the van, we woke up next to the water's edge once more, and it was time to head down to the public showers where we get freshened up, ready for the day ahead. Now, I'd mentioned previously that you can get a ferry from Dartmouth, but you can actually get two different ferries. There's one more on the northern side of Dartmouth, which is a much bigger ferry than you're used to, and there's one smaller ferry further south in Dartmouth, and Claire was adamant we was going for the small one. I wasn't sure why. I hadn't seen pictures of either, and as we got to the front of the queue, it was only a short amount of time before we could board, and I pulled round the corner and soon realised why.
You couldn't go on the big one, babe, just because this was so pretty.
I feel like if Claire had shown me a picture of this beforehand, I would have definitely not agreed to this. And after speaking to the guy who collected the fare for crossing, he did assure us that if we sink, there's a full refund. That's always promising. And I'm not even sure this is going to take the weight of the van plus another 4 or 5 cars. I'm not exactly filled with confidence here. I mean, essentially, we just sat on a floating tray, and what's even more weird is that the boat pulls alongside of the platform and then drags you across. Now, I'm not sure what matey in the background's doing there. He's gone right around the bend just to cross the straight line. He's probably avoiding the potholes. But surprisingly, once we got going, it was really smooth. You couldn't feel it rocking at all, which isn't what I expected when I first saw it. So I take it back, and it was well worth doing. But eventually, our dramatic sail of the 7 seas has come to an end, and we was to dock safely, and my heartbeat started to come down a bit. But we're going to try and change our lighthouse luck. So we're now at Berryhead Nature Reserve. We set off from the car park and wander through the nature reserve. The weather was looking great today, so we decided a little walk was right on the cards. It's not a long journey to get to the lighthouse, so it didn't take us long. And before we knew it, we saw this. Yeah, not so much a lighthouse, but a light bungalow. So still no lighthouse luck, but it doesn't matter, because we had a lovely walk and we got to see some incredible views. But given there wasn't much else here to look at, we decided to head back to the van and press on with the next activity for the day. And that activity is a beach day. We were off to Teignmouth. And with sun like this, we could not keep the kids away from the sand. Again, we loaded up a bag, we put the spades and the buckets in it, and we headed straight down to the beach. In the arcades, in Looe, the boys had won a small plastic toy and it came in this little clear case. I suggested we collect bits from each beach and make our own little aquarium in it. They gathered some shingle from the beach at Blackpool Sands, and from this beach, I suggested they get some decorative shells to put in it.
Got a few shells.
You got some shells?
Yeah.
Nice ones.
Yeah.
Show me.
This is the one I got.
Beautiful. You're going to put it in your little tank. Oh, beautiful. The finishing touch.
And maybe at the next beach, we'll fill it with some seawater. See what happens.
Good job. Is that what you wanted to stay? What?
But the time on the beach didn't last too long, because normally where there's a beach, there's a pier, and normally where there's a pier, there's arcades. And guess what the boys wanted to do? Now, we hadn't been to an arcade with go-karts in it before, and the boys were straight on it. Although, I think Laker needs a bit of practice. But not to worry, Mummy's to the rescue, I think. She might not have been able to drive that go-kart straight or away from a wall, but she did use her 2p machines to win some sweets for the boys. So there was some success. So welcome to Beer, our next stop. But in fact, the name Beer actually comes from an old word for grove or woodland, nothing to do with what you might think. It's quieter than some of the other spots along the coast, but it didn't take long for the boys to find a park, so that was the first job. So even if this village wasn't named after the Golden Nectar, I wasn't going to pass up a chance to have a beer in Beer. So I popped into the Anchor Inn, one of the only pubs I could find, and treated myself to a local brew. Happy days. And that now means Claire has to drive. Because let's face it, drinking and driving just ain't worth it. Plus, it'd be selfish of me to take up all the driving on these trips. So it's Claire's turn. And luckily for Claire, I think all of the narrow lanes had been done at this point. So it was looking like a nice, smooth, easy ride to our next stop, Lyme Regis. So we just stopped in Beer for a quick pint because it's only natural. I feel like when someone's called beer, you've got to have a beer there. Turns out there's not as many pubs as you might think, there's just the one good one. Did look on Google and there was one that was shut and it was on the beachfront, but it seemed to shut at 6 o'clock, which doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, pint of beer obtained, and we are now on the way to our next stop, which is going to be Lyme Regis or Charmouth. We're not sure yet. We're going to see what's in Lyme Regis. We're going to see if it's worth stopping at and having a look on the fossil beaches, because that is around the area where the Jurassic Coast starts. But I think Charmouth is going to be the nicer of the stops. We found a little lay-by outside of Lyme Regis, which looks free and suitable to stop in for the night, and then we can drive into either. So we'll see what happens. So after debating where we're going next, we looked at the time and we thought about it logically. If you stop at Lyme Regis, there's less places to park, and we'd found one further on in Charmouth, which looked suitable. So we drove through Lyme Regis and headed straight to Charmouth. There's a nice big open car park on Charmouth Beach. So we rocked up, parked the van, stretched our legs, and got ourselves on with the first bit of fossil hunting on this trip. We had prepped the boys as to what to look for. We'd done a bit of research and shown them some ammonites. I think that's what they're called. But this wasn't going to be a full day's fossil hunting, because we've got dinner on in the van and the evening is creeping in on us slowly. But the boys did strike gold.
Oh, you found a fossil! And you, what's that bit?
No,
You found a dinosaur neck too?
this is the dinosaur neck.
Wow. Maybe there's two dinosaur necks.
Because this is what it looks like.
Wow. Super investigators here.
Imagination is key on trips like this, and I think the boys are well happy with what they found. But now it's dinner time. If you want any proof that Harley's a bit of an influence to his little brother, just watch closely. Caught red-handed. So with dinner done and dusted, it was time to think about getting to bed. We'd found on Park for Night that there was a car park in Ep.IV, not too far from Charmouth Beach. So that was going to be our camp for the night. A nice big car park out the way, and motorhome friendly too. It was going to be the perfect spot for us tonight. So another peaceful night for us, which lined us up perfectly for an early morning, because today we were off to Sandsfoot Castle and Gardens. We wasn't planning on being here too long, just a nice gentle walk through the castle gardens just to start the day. And I'm starting to think the boys have got my traits. A little bit of water and they can't get away from it.
Daddy.
Yeah,
Put your finger in, see if there's a fish.
no way.
No, I'm not brave enough.
Might have teeth. You might have teeth.
So we headed down to the castle ruins, and before we could even get close, we met a new friend. Now we have two dogs of our own, so the kids are quite confident around dogs, but our dogs don't play fetch, so they was in for a right treat when they saw this dog only wanted to play ball. We got chatting to the lovely lady who owns the dog, and we asked her for a few recommendations of what to do in the area, and she lined us up perfectly with the next stop on our trip. So we said goodbye, had a little look around the castle grounds, and started to make our way back to the van, because the boys had got a whisper of the word ice cream.
All aboard!
So we're off to Weymouth Beach, and apart from the incredible sand sculptures and the busy seaside atmosphere, we were here for Rossi's Ice Creams. This is apparently the hot spot for ice creams on Weymouth Beach. I can see why. Just look at that queue. It didn't take long for it to go down, and we was ordering our ice creams. We were stuck on flavours. There were so many to choose from. The boys played it safe and had vanilla cones, and they couldn't even wait for me and Claire to get ours and they were tucked in. Now ours took a little bit longer. We opted for the Easter egg ice cream filled bowls. it is Easter after all. And given it's on the seafront, it made perfect sense for us to go down to the beach, sit on a step and enjoy our ice cream before we move on to the next spot. Now I'm not sure how we went from ice creams on the beach to thick fog, but we pushed through the fog and we came to Durdle Door, an iconic spot on the south coast. We've been here before and we knew exactly what to expect. And if you've been here before, you'll know that this steep path down to Durdle Door is no joke. So we set off down the path and unfortunately we saw this. Access denied. They were doing some work on the steps down to Durdle Door Bay, so unfortunately we had to look at it from the top, which is no bad thing. And on the plus side, the weather wasn't the greatest today, so we didn't miss out this incredible beach on a bright sunny day. And given we couldn't spend time down on the beach, we decided it was time to head back to the van. And we're taking a short trip down the road to Lulworth Cove. So it's just a 5-minute drive or a 30-minute walk from Durdle Door to Lulworth Cove. There's no steep hill and it's a nice open bay for us to chill around. No sand, but that didn't stop the kids getting stuck in and playing with the shingle. And Harley decided to show off his muscles by rescuing the pontoon that was being swept out to sea. So after our long walk up the steep hill and some fresh sea air around the bay, it was time to think about lunch and headed back towards the van. We grabbed a pasty en route, and if we didn't hurry these boys up, they would have gone cold by the time we'd got there. And before we even got to the van, we walked past the Lulworth Cove gift shop. And as you've probably seen, our boys love spending money, so we had to go in and have a look. But it wasn't just gifts and seaside tat, they had a whole fossil museum bolted on the side of the gift shop. And this got hold of Harley's attention way more than the gift shop did, thankfully. There was a really helpful volunteer lady that was working there, and she gave us some tips, some facts, and let Harley get involved with the interactive sand pit. And there's me thinking these kids would be sick of the sight of sand, given how many beaches we cover. Apparently not. But it's time to go on. Time's running out. And Swanage is next up for us. We've seen something called the Dancing Ledge, which we wanted to go and check out. Another hotspot on the Jurassic Coast. So we've just come to have a look at the Dancing Ledge, and as we've parked up to look at what the options are for getting there, I've pulled into this car park and I see a bit of a weird wooden sculpture, or structure I suppose, in front of us. And me being extremely hilarious, thought I'd go, oh look, it's Woodhenge. Claire thought it was funny, I think. So I've just gone to look on my map to look up our next destination, because we can't actually do the Dancing Ledge with it being a bit of a difficult walk with the kids. And as I've opened my map on my iPhone, guess what's in front of me? Woodhenge. It's actually called Woodhenge. So I might not be a comical genius, but I am a genius. So poured that jokes aside, we're off for another ferry. This isn't a normal drive to the ferry. If you look in the distance, there was something quite strange. It almost looks like our Instagram tag. And speaking of our Instagram, if you're not following already, we'd recommend you do so. We post pictures daily of our trips that don't quite make it to the video. As much as we love you following on YouTube, we'd love you to follow us on Instagram too. So come and join us over there as well. So we're off to the ferry in Shell Bay, crossing over to Sandbanks. Thank you very much, you two. Cheers.
Oh, he's happy.
Now that's a guy who loves his job. And that's what we like to see. A bit of positivity. By now, you know the score of the ferries. We drive on, we cross the water, and we drive off. We've done a few of these on this trip already. But time's becoming of the essence this evening, because we're parking up in Christchurch for an early night, because we've got a few jobs to do and an early morning ahead. So I've just been sat on the side of the van step doing some washing up outside, and unbeknownst to me, Claire is cooking behind and asked if I want a spoon for my dinner or if I'm happy to just drink it. I've got spaghetti bolognese out of a mug. Not your everyday.
Innovative.
It works. So it was alarm set for 6 in the morning. We had an early start today, which was a shame because this park up was spot on. Right next to the beach, overlooking the sea. It was a public street, but parking permission said we could stay, so we did, and we weren't the only ones. And there was a real bonus here, because these hand railings you can see at the bottom, that led to a set of steps that took you onto the seafront where there's a set of public toilets. But with 2 sleepy kids in tow, we made our way to the Isle of Wight ferry. Because yesterday, we made a last minute booking. We wasn't sure if we was going to have time to the Isle of Wight, so we left it last minute. And with last minute booking, means high level prices, so we booked the early crossing, just to save some money. But now it's time to try and wake us all up. We went upstairs and we found a set of perfect seats right in front of the windows, which the boys were over the moon about. And given how early we'd woken them up, I was expecting some real grotty moods. But they'd perked up, and it was a nice smooth crossing. We had a little bit of breakfast, and God knows how many games of I Spy. But it passed the time. And before we knew it was back to the van, and we'd landed on the Isle of Wight. Now this wasn't quite the entrance onto the Isle of Wight I'd hoped for. It was dark, it was grey, it was miserable. It put a bit of a downer on the day. But it did make for a really moody, dark and gloomy Jurassic Coast trip. As we got off the ferry at Yarmouth, we took a right-hand turn, which meant we was going to cover the island anti-clockwise. And we landed at 8 o'clock in the morning, and nothing was open. We didn't really know what to do with ourselves, so we kept driving until we could find something to do. We'd found a viewpoint up ahead, so we thought we'd give it a go, but the fog was so thick we couldn't see anything. But there was a nice touch to the Jurassic Coast, so we carried on driving, until I made Claire make an abrupt stop.
Where are we going, boys?
See fish.
You want to go and see a fish?
As Claire was driving, I noticed a very clear and obvious carp in the water next to us as we drove alongside a public pond, so I had to stop. It's the angler in me.
So is this the highlight of the Isle of Wight so far?
I couldn't believe how clear this water was. Like I said, I'd spotted these fish from driving past in the van. And with my love of natural waters and the boys growing into it too, they was more than happy to stop and learn a little bit about pond life. And there was plenty to see.
Daddy!
Yeah?
Fishies! Look at that foot!
Crazy. Go mate.
But we pressed on, much to Claire's influence, and we soon come across a little town called Shanklin. Now this looked a little bit more lively than what we'd seen so far. So we parked up in the car park and headed down to the town, where there was a few shops that looked like they might have a bit of life in them. And can you guess what shop we had to go in first? The sweet shop, obviously. And luckily, we'd refrained from buying any sweets. But the smell of fresh donuts in the air, on the other hand, did grab a hold of us. So it was donuts for breakfast. Not your average breakfast, but when we're away, we like to treat ourselves, as you can tell. So the boys dosed up on sugar, but I made sure to reserve myself, because there's one thing I specifically wanted to do when we came to the Isle of Wight. The garlic farm. And if you don't know about the garlic farm, you need to get to know about the garlic farm. This is my hotspot recommendation. We've been here before, I couldn't quite believe there was an actual farm for garlic. So a return trip was necessary, and here we are.
Ooh, a garlic growing kit, that'd be cool.
I want it.
You want to grow your own garlics? What are you going to call it?
Banana.
Banana. Not garlic.
Yep, these dad jokes just keep getting worse, and I'm not going to apologise. But anyway, here we are, an absolute heaven for anyone who likes garlic. I don't just mean a little bit of garlic mixed in with your bolognese here and there. I'm talking about garlic in everything. I'm talking mayo, ketchup, chutneys, garlic beer, and even garlic vodka. But it's not just a novelty, this stuff does taste incredible. Well, maybe not the beer. But I made sure to stock up because we were soon off to our next stop. And as we continued on with our lap around the island, things started to wake up, and something at the corner of my eye caught my attention. And it wasn't the bright sign saying Harbour Lights Amusements, or the big bold coloured rides. It was this inflatable zorbing ball. And I thought Harley is going to love that. Now, as you might already gathered, Harley is a kid that never runs out of energy, so I thought this might keep him entertained. But little did I know, this was purely for my amusement. I could not stop laughing. How can Harley not stand up? He just kept running and falling. My stomach was cramping just watching this. The lake is a little bit more reserved than Harley, but we convinced him to try and have a go, and he got in the bubble and they blew it up. But unfortunately, there was a problem with that zorb, and the air kept going down, so they had to put that ball out of action. And at that point, he'd lost confidence and decided to back out, which was a shame. I think he would have loved it. But it didn't take long for them to pick the next ride, and this was Laker's choice.
Are you ready?
And I wasn't ready for another fit of laughter. With Harley at the wheel, he could not stop this thing from spinning. No matter what he tried, this thing was out of control, and poor old Laker's a passenger in a seasick donut. But now time for something they're probably a little bit more in control of. Or at least we thought. Quad bikes, what can go wrong? And off to a great start. Both kids going the opposite way around the track, which isn't that big. Surely something's going to go wrong here. But so far so good. A few near misses. A bit of showing off. But eventually, whack. And again, Mummy to the rescue. I think she does it just for her own enjoyment, if I'm honest. So if there's anything we've learnt, it's that our kids cannot drive a vehicle, and that if you ever see a fun fair or amusements at the side of the road, always pull over and have a go. So we've done 3/4 of the lap of the island already, and I cannot believe how quick this trip has gone. But it's time for another ferry, which is going to bring us back round to the top where we started, past Yarmouth, and back to something we missed this morning because it was shut. We're off to the Needles. Now Claire only wanted to come here because of the chairlift. That's right, there's a ski slope style chairlift that takes you down to the beachfront to save you a mammoth walk. Now our kids have never been on a chairlift before, so this was a completely new experience for them, and for us, with having kids on our laps. But luckily, the people that worked here knew exactly what they were doing, and they guided us perfectly to make sure that we got on safely and quickly. So you might be thinking, what are the Needles? These are the Needles. 3 towering stacks of chalk rising straight out of the sea, carved away by the sea over thousands of years. Here's the same story at the other end. We got off nice and easy, nice and safely, and the guides really helped out here. Now at that's literally at the foot of the chairlift where you get access to the beach, which is great if you're up for a bit of pebble throwing and some knee slides down the banks. But honestly, there's not much else here. I think there's a boat trip that takes you out from the dock over to the Needles, but that's about it. I mean, our kids were quite happy. Last little bit of fossil hunting and general beach play. But we lasted about 10-15 minutes and we decided to get back on the chairlift. Not only that, they'd made the last call for the last chairlift up. We didn't fancy the stairs.
What you on, Harley? Is it good?
I loved it.
Oh, are you going to go skiing soon?
But that's a plan for another day. Right now, the boys have got some redemption on their hands. One last chance to prove they can drive a vehicle. And so far so good. Harley taking a strong lead, but Laker and Daddy not far behind. The chase was on. And this was getting tense. Me and Laker soon caught up with Harley, and it became a rush to the finish line. But luckily, it seemed like a fair race. And it was time to end our trip to the Needles with a shared victory. We all made it round without crashing. So that's us done for the Isle of Wight. We have lapped the entire island from Yarmouth all the way around and back to Yarmouth, where we are just outside of at the moment. We've popped into, well, Claire's just popped into Tesco to get a few bits for dinner tonight. And then we are going to hopefully get an earlier ferry. Our original booking was for 7:05, I think. We're now 5:20, so we're going to hope to try and get the 6:05 ferry and get us back to mainland a little bit earlier. Hoping to head to Burley, where we camped before last time. If you've seen the episode, the Sussex the Solent episode, that's where we met Denise, the very eager deer. So we'll be staying on that same campsite, or the Burley Manor grounds. So we may see Denise again tonight or tomorrow morning. So yeah, Isle of Wight's been good. Started off miserable, as you've seen, and finished lovely with some blue skies and some sunshine. And I'm glad we got the Needles done as well. That was really good. Didn't expect to get that done today, so really nice touch. Isle of Wight there and back in a day. Done. Hello. I've got a booking for the 7:05 ferry. I wonder if we could jump on earlier at all. Go on.
Thank
Star,
you.
thank you. Happy day. So the final ferry of our trip. But you know the story with this, so we didn't feel much. We're now pressing on because we need to get to Burley. Now a huge moment for us. We'd made it back to the same campsite we finished our last Coast in the Kingdom trip in. So we've linked it up and we squeezed in the Isle of Wight. And don't worry, the kids in the back with the door open is a special treat. I drive nice and slowly and Claire was on the outside, just keeping an eye on things. No need for panic here. But now it's time for the boys to burn off a little bit of energy. A bit of wrestling, loads of football, and a couple of good darts and all.
Good darts.
With the evening setting in, we approached some of the deer that were loose in the field. They weren't as eager as last time, thankfully, but the boys were just as curious. With camp set up, we was ready for the evening ahead. Boys loving life with the space around them, Claire cooking dinner in the van. What's not to love? Barbecue flavoured pork loins and pasta for dinner? Wallop. More than happy with that. But Harley, on the other hand,
bought some new tomatoes, and I never ever tried yellow tomatoes.
have you ever tried a yellow tomato?
No. Just today.
Oh, that's what I said.
What do they taste like?
Normal
They
tomatoes.
taste just the same.
The juice inside of this tomato is different with the juice inside it.
Oh, and why is the juice different?
Because they're even fresher.
Oh, it tastes even fresher.
And we were so distracted by Tomatogate that we forgot about the main event.
Go on then, boys, both push it in. Oh. What does your sign say, boys?
So, Easter Bunny, please stop here.
Would you like the Easter Bunny to come here then tonight?
Yeah. He goes anywhere.
Oh, so is he a bit like Santa and he knows if you're on holiday?
That's right, it's Easter tomorrow. And the boys had struck gold. The Easter Bunny clearly saw their sign and paid them a visit, ready for them to wake up to in the morning. And luckily, that Easter Bunny knows exactly what they like and didn't hold back on spoiling them.
I've got a lot.
Oh my goodness.
What have you got?
What did the Easter Bunny bring you?
Pokemon book, a towel, crock,
Eggs.
an egg.
Oh, that must be my egg.
No.
What?
I want
Ah, that's kindly.
My God. Can I eat the sweeties out of it now? Yeah.
What, before breakfast?
Yeah.
Only if you say a big thank you to the Easter Bunny.
Thank you. To Easter Bunny. Happy Easter. Easter.
Now what a way to end an incredible trip.
So we woke up this morning in Burley in the New Forest, one of our favourite camp spots where when you arrive there's loads of deer roaming around in the field which the kids absolutely love. Went over, got quite close last night, although when the deer do approach them they get a little bit scared, which is quite funny.
Hang on a minute. The kids get scared. Remember this, Claire? It's going to eat you now, Claire.
But yeah, good night's sleep for all. Got up early this morning and had a surprise visit from the Easter Bunny, which the kids were absolutely buzzing about. He managed to find us. They were a little bit worried he might not know where we are if we were on holiday, but we put our sign out and he managed to find us, so that was lucky. We were all feeling like we were due a bit of a freshen up, so we found a swimming pool in Southampton and have headed along there this morning for a swim and a shower. The kids had a great time. They had some slides at the pool, which Harley just smashed all of them and absolutely loved. We're all clean and fresh, and now we're off, starting to head our journey towards home, but a few last little tricks in store for the kids en route.
So yeah, a few little treats. We stopped off to see Nick, Lauren, Ollie, Emily and Isla, the boys' best friends, and some of our really close friends too. We stayed the night with them and had some real downtime, chilling with friends and catching up on old times. Once we'd left theirs, we also stopped at a country park to meet some of Claire's family and the boys' cousins, which they had no idea about, and were over the moon to spend the day in the sun around a country park, chilling and burning off even more energy that I didn't think they'd have. Now this was an optimistic trip to start with, but I think we'd smashed it. We covered loads of ground, seen loads of stuff and had the best time. If you're thinking about doing this route, I'd 100% recommend it.